The sun of Zorathia stretched across the sky in brilliant streaks of gold and violet, reflecting off the crystalline spires of the capital city. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of the royal palace, her long silver hair catching the sunlight as she watched the bustling streets below. The city was alive with activity, alien merchants calling out their wares and shimmering transport pods gliding through the air. The kingdom had long been a beacon of prosperity, a place where technology and culture intertwined seamlessly, and Lyra had grown up knowing both the privileges and the responsibilities that came with being the heir. Today, however, was different. A sense of unease prickled at the edges of her mind, something she could not explain. Her advisors had warned her that humans were unpredictable. Though humans were rare visitors to Zorathia, their presence had often brought unexpected challenges. Lyra trusted her instincts, and they told her that something was about to change. As she turned from the balcony, her thoughts were interrupted by a loud boom in the distance. The city's sensors immediately went on high alert, and palace guards rushed to their posts. Lyra felt her heart quicken. Explosions were rare in the capital, especially near the diplomatic sectors. She ran toward the command chamber, her flowing robe barely keeping up with her pace. Outside the city, Captain Ethan Carter fought to keep control of his damaged spacecraft. The human pilot had been on a scouting mission when a sudden storm of electromagnetic energy disrupted his ship's navigation systems. Alarms blared as he struggled with the controls, twisting levers and pressing buttons frantically. He knew that the storm could tear the craft apart at any moment. His training and instincts took over, allowing him to maneuver with a precision that seemed impossible. Sparks flew and the ship shuddered violently, but Ethan managed to guide it toward a clearing outside the city limits. He crashed hard, skidding across the metallic ground before finally coming to rest in a cloud of smoke and dust. Ethan groaned as he tried to move, his body aching from the impact. He pushed himself up, scanning the alien landscape. The city rose in the distance like a jewel, shimmering under the twin suns. He had never seen anything like it. Towering buildings made of crystal and metal, glowing pathways and beings that seemed to float or glide past. Humans had explored many worlds, but this was unlike anything in the data reports. His curiosity pushed aside the pain as he limped toward the city, unaware of the eyes that were now on him. Inside the palace, Lyra and her advisors monitored the city's defenses. "Sensors show an unidentified object moving toward the city," one of them reported, his tone tense. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Is it armed?" she asked. The advisor shook his head. "Unknown. It may be human. They are rare, but our data shows they are often dangerous." Lyra's mind raced. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but sometimes they could be courageous allies too. She made a quick decision. "Prepare a reconnaissance team. I will go myself. We cannot underestimate this visitor." Moments later, Lyra arrived at the edge of the city, accompanied by a small group of elite guards. Smoke still rose from the clearing, and the twisted remains of a spacecraft caught her attention. As she approached, she saw a figure struggling to rise from the wreckage. Ethan noticed movement and froze. He expected guards, weapons, or even hostility, but instead a tall, regal woman in flowing silver robes approached. Her presence was commanding, and her eyes, shimmering with a strange violet hue, studied him with curiosity rather than fear. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. Ethan straightened despite his injuries. "I'm Captain Ethan Carter of the United Earth Federation. My ship was damaged in a storm. I mean no harm." Lyra studied him carefully. His human form was unusual to her eyes, but there was something in his stance, a strength and determination that drew her attention. "A human. Here, alone?" she murmured. Before she could speak further, a sudden noise echoed through the clearing. A group of rogue mercenaries drawn by the crash emerged from the shadows, weapons aimed at the human intruder. Lyra's guards moved to intercept them, but Ethan did not wait. Despite his injuries, he assessed the situation with remarkable speed, using the terrain to his advantage. He ducked behind a piece of the wreckage, grabbed a metal rod, and swung it with precision. The mercenaries were surprised by his agility and determination. He disarmed one, then another, moving with a skill that seemed almost instinctive. Lyra watched in shock and awe. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but this one, he was extraordinary. The fight was brief but intense. Ethan's actions disrupted the mercenaries long enough for Lyra's guards to capture the intruders. As the dust settled, Lyra approached Ethan. He was breathing heavily, his uniform torn, but his eyes met hers with unwavering focus. "You are skilled," she said, a hint of admiration in her voice. "Most humans would not survive that encounter." Ethan offered a weak smile. "I've had some training." He paused, glancing at the city. "I need to understand. Where am I? And what is this place?" "You are in Zorathia," Lyra replied. "And I am Princess Lyra. You are lucky to be alive." Ethan nodded, still trying to process everything. The city, the princess, the advanced technology, it was overwhelming. Thank you," he said simply. Lyra studied him in silence for a moment. There was something about him, something she could not place. Perhaps it was his bravery, or the way he seemed to understand strategy instinctively. Perhaps it was something deeper, a connection she could not yet name. "We should get you inside," she said finally. "You need rest and medical attention. My personal healers will see to your injuries." Ethan allowed her to lead him, leaning slightly on a support she offered. As they walked through the palace halls, he marveled at the beauty and complexity around him. The walls seemed alive, shifting patterns of light dancing across crystalline surfaces. Beings moved gracefully through the corridors, some with 4 arms, others with wings or unusual forms, but all displaying a harmony that humans rarely achieved. Lyra remained silent, her mind racing. Humans were rare, yes, and their unpredictability made them both dangerous and fascinating. But there was something about this one, something that stirred a memory buried deep in her mind. She shook it off, blaming exhaustion and the recent attack. Still, curiosity gnawed at her. In the private healing chamber, Ethan was tended to by alien medics. The technology was advanced beyond anything he had seen, yet surprisingly gentle. His injuries were serious, but the healers worked efficiently, using a combination of energy-based treatments and careful hands to stabilize him. As he rested, Lyra observed from a distance. She was amazed not just by his physical resilience, but by his calm under pressure, his quick thinking, and his unshakable courage. Few humans, she realized, could face such a situation and remain composed. Later, as the suns began to set, painting the sky in deep purples and golds, Lyra sat by the window of her chamber. She thought about the human warrior she had encountered, about his bravery, and about the strange sense of familiarity she felt. Something told her that this meeting was not a coincidence. Perhaps fate had brought him here for a reason she could not yet understand. Meanwhile, Ethan's mind wandered as he lay on the healing bed. His thoughts were filled with questions. Why was he here? How did he survive the crash? And why did the princess treat him with such care, when any other alien might have treated him as a threat? The night deepened and the palace fell silent. Stars twinkled above, distant and bright, as if watching over the unfolding events. For both Lyra and Ethan, the world had shifted in ways neither could yet comprehend. A connection had been sparked, a bond that would grow stronger as the days passed. And though neither of them knew it yet, their meeting was the beginning of a story that would change the fate of both their worlds. By the time the first light of dawn broke across the crystalline city, Lyra had made a silent decision. She would keep a close eye on this human warrior. There was more to him than met the eye, and she could not ignore the feeling that their meeting was meant to be. Ethan, for his part, awoke to find the princess sitting nearby, watching over him with quiet attention. He smiled faintly, feeling a strange sense of reassurance despite the alien surroundings. Thus began the story of the human warrior and the alien princess, a story of courage, discovery, and an unexpected connection that neither time nor distance could break. Their journey had just begun, and the universe around them was vast, full of danger, mystery, and possibilities beyond imagination. The next morning, sunlight poured through the tall crystalline windows of the palace, painting the floors in patterns of gold and violet. Captain Ethan Carter awoke slowly, feeling the residual aches from the crash and the skirmish that had followed. His body was healing faster than expected, thanks to the advanced techniques of the Zorathian healers, yet he still moved cautiously. As he sat up, he noticed Princess Lyra standing nearby, her expression calm but filled with curiosity. "Good morning," she said softly. Her violet eyes studied him carefully as if she were trying to read his thoughts. "How are you feeling?" Ethan offered a faint smile. "Better, thanks to your healers. I'm amazed by your technology. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." Lyra tilted her head slightly, intrigued. You are brave and you learn quickly. It is rare for a human to adapt so well to new environments. I would like to understand more about you. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Understand me? He asked cautiously. Yes, she replied. Your actions yesterday? They were extraordinary. You faced danger without hesitation, yet you did not act recklessly. I would like to know how you think, how you make decisions. It is unusual. He hesitated, then shrugged. I guess I just focus on what needs to be done. I don't always think about what could go wrong. Maybe that's why humans are sometimes called unpredictable. Lyra smiled faintly. Perhaps, she said. She gestured to the door. Come with me. I want to show you the city, safely. Ethan stood, careful not to strain his still-healing body, and followed her. As they walked through the palace corridors, Ethan could not help but marvel at the architecture. Walls shimmered as if alive, and light moved across surfaces in flowing patterns. Beings of many forms passed by, some with translucent skin revealing inner organs glowing faintly, others with multiple limbs or wings. All moved with a grace and purpose that made humans appear clumsy in comparison. You must be overwhelmed, Lyra said, noticing his wide eyes. It's a lot to take in, Ethan admitted. I've seen advanced civilizations before, but it's something else entirely. Lyra nodded. Zorathia is different. Our people have learned to combine technology with understanding, to live in harmony with our environment and with each other. But we are still a kingdom, and rules exist for the safety of all. They reached a large observation platform overlooking the city. From this height, the entire capital sprawled beneath them, a mixture of crystal towers, flowing waterways, and glowing transport networks. Ethan felt a sense of awe that he struggled to put into words. It's beautiful, he said. I can see why this place is considered a jewel of the galaxy. Lyra's eyes softened. Beauty is not only in what we build, but in how we live together. That is why I must protect it. And now you are here, in the heart of our kingdom. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had come here by accident, yet he sensed that his presence was significant. There was something about Lyra, something in her voice and her eyes, that suggested their meeting was not random. Over the next few days, Lyra continued to spend time with Ethan. She introduced him to Zorathian customs, teaching him etiquette, the basic language, and even combat techniques adapted to their unique environment. Ethan learned quickly, his human adaptability allowing him to absorb knowledge at an impressive rate. One afternoon, Lyra led Ethan to the royal training grounds. They practiced combat together, the princess showing him how to wield energy blades with precision. Ethan was careful, following her instructions and quickly understanding the nuances of Zorathian fighting styles. You learn faster than I expected, Lyra remarked, watching him block and parry with surprising skill. Ethan smiled, wiping sweat from his forehead. I guess humans are used to thinking on their feet. We have to sometimes. Lyra nodded thoughtfully. Yes, I can see that. There is a strength in humans that is rare, a courage that is not always visible until tested. You have it. Their sessions continued and a bond began to form. Ethan admired Lyra's leadership and her determination to protect her people. Lyra, in turn, was impressed by Ethan's bravery, his quick thinking, and his innate sense of honor. There was a quiet respect growing between them, one that neither fully understood yet, but both could feel. One evening, as the twin suns set, painting the sky in deep purples and fiery golds, an urgent message arrived. The sensors had detected movement near the city's northern border. Lyra's advisors were quick to act, but she insisted on accompanying Ethan. When they arrived, they discovered a small band of mercenaries attempting to breach the city's defenses. Unlike the previous encounter, this threat was more organized and dangerous. Lyra and Ethan moved together, their combined skills creating a seamless defense. Ethan used his human instincts to anticipate the mercenaries' movements, while Lyra used her Zorathian training and energy blades to intercept them. After a tense battle, the attackers were captured. Lyra watched Ethan carefully, her mind racing. Humans were capable of great courage, but this was extraordinary. She began to wonder if there was more to him than just a skilled warrior. Later, back in the palace, Lyra could not stop thinking about the small pendant Ethan wore around his neck. It was a simple piece, not flashy, but it caught the light in a strange way. She recognized it immediately, though she had not seen one in many years. It matched a relic kept in the royal archives, an object tied to a prophecy about the royal line. Curiosity gnawed at her. She decided to investigate further. She visited the royal historian, an elder with vast knowledge of the kingdom's history. The historian's eyes widened when he saw the pendant. "Princess Lyra," he said, his voice low, "this is extraordinary. This pendant belonged to the consort of the royal line, lost centuries ago. Legends say it will one day return to the one who is destined to unite with the heir. If this is the same, then the human may be more than a visitor. He may be the one foretold by prophecy." Lyra's mind reeled. Could it be possible? A human, a being from another world, was destined to be her consort? She returned to Ethan, careful not to reveal too much. She needed to understand how he fit into this and whether the prophecy could truly apply to him. Meanwhile, Ethan was unaware of the stir he had caused. He spent his days learning, training, and exploring the city under Lyra's guidance. He had grown fond of her, not just as a princess, but as a person. Her determination, intelligence, and compassion drew him in. He felt a connection he could not explain, a sense of belonging in a place far from home. One evening, as they walked along the palace gardens, Lyra finally asked him directly, "Ethan, do you feel different here? Do you feel that something brought you to Zarathia?" Ethan looked at her, considering the question. "I don't know," he admitted. "It's strange. I feel like I'm meant to be here, even if I don't understand why. There's something about this place, and you, that feels familiar in a way I can't explain." Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. His words echoed the very thought she had been trying to ignore. Could it be that their meeting was not accidental? Could fate really have brought him here? The days passed, and the bond between Lyra and Ethan deepened. They trained together, strategized together, and shared quiet moments in the palace gardens. Each encounter revealed new aspects of each other's character, building trust and respect. Then came the day when another message arrived. The northern borders had reported a larger movement of enemy forces, indicating that the mercenaries were only scouts for a greater invasion. Lyra and Ethan prepared to leave for the frontier, ready to face the challenge together. As they stood before the city gates, Ethan glanced at Lyra. "Whatever happens, I'll stand by your side," he said firmly. Lyra met his gaze, feeling a mixture of relief and something deeper she could not yet name. "And I will trust you," she replied softly. "Together we may be stronger than anyone expects." With that, they stepped beyond the palace walls, ready to face the dangers ahead. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Their destinies were now intertwined. Each step brought them closer, not only as allies but as companions on a journey that would challenge them, change them, and reveal truths neither of them could yet imagine. As the sun set behind them, casting long shadows across the landscape, Lyra thought about the prophecy, the pendant, and the courage of the human warrior beside her. She did not yet know the full story, but she knew one thing with certainty. Ethan was extraordinary, and their meeting was only the beginning of something far greater than either could comprehend. The night sky of Zarathia stretched above them, stars shimmering like distant jewels. Somewhere in the vast universe, fate had aligned the paths of two very different beings. One was a princess born to lead her people, the other, a human warrior guided by courage and destiny. Together, they would face challenges that would test not only their strength but the very limits of their worlds. And so, their story continued, a tale of discovery, courage, and an unexpected bond that neither time nor distance could break. The morning light spilled over the crystalline towers of Zarathia, casting reflections that danced across the streets below. Princess Lyra awoke with a restless feeling in her chest, her thoughts occupied entirely by the human warrior, Ethan. She could not stop thinking about the pendant he wore, the one that matched the relic kept in the royal archives, and the story the royal historian had told her. The prophecy. Could it really be true? Could a human, an outsider, be destined to unite with her, the heir of Zarathia? Lyra dressed quickly, her silver robes flowing behind her as she moved through the palace halls. She needed answers, and there was no time to waste. The historian had promised to provide her with more details, and she would not wait another moment. She found him in the grand library, a massive hall filled with shelves of shimmering scrolls and floating data tablets. The historian's eyes lit up as she entered, a mixture of concern and excitement on his face. "Princess Lyra," he said, lowering the scroll he was examining. I feared you would come so soon, but perhaps it is for the best. What you seek to know is not simple. Lyra placed a hand on the edge of a floating table, her violet eyes steady. Tell me everything. I need to understand what this human truly is and why his presence here feels important. The historian nodded and motioned for her to sit. The pendant he carries belonged to the consort of the royal line centuries ago. It was lost during a time of great conflict, when our kingdom faced threats from outside worlds. Legend says that the true consort will return one day, chosen not only for courage but for wisdom, integrity, and the ability to unite not only our people but allies from other worlds. The prophecy is clear. The one who wears the pendant is the destined partner of the heir. Lyra felt a shiver run down her spine. Do you believe he is the one? The historian hesitated. I do not know what to believe, Princess. Humans are unpredictable and the universe is vast. But the signs, the pendant, his bravery, his choices, all point to the possibility. You must see for yourself how he acts, how he thinks, and how he faces the challenges to come. Lyra thanked the historian and left the library, her mind spinning. She needed to observe Ethan to see if he truly was worthy of the prophecy. Perhaps it was fate, perhaps it was coincidence, but either way, she could not ignore the feeling growing in her heart. Meanwhile, Ethan had been training in the palace courtyard. Lyra had insisted he continue learning Zorathian combat techniques and diplomacy, and he threw himself into it with determination. Each day brought new challenges, new skills, and a deeper understanding of the alien culture around him. Lyra joined him that afternoon, her presence both comforting and inspiring. You have improved greatly, she said, watching him block an energy blade with precision. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. I'm learning from the best, he replied. Your techniques are incredible, and I want to understand your world. I want to be prepared for whatever comes next. Lyra nodded. Your dedication is admirable. Humans rarely adapt so quickly, yet you not only adapt, you excel. There is a strength within you that is rare, and perhaps that is why the prophecy may have chosen you. Ethan looked at her, curiosity and concern mixed in his expression. Prophecy? What do you mean? Lyra hesitated, not wanting to overwhelm him. There are old stories, ancient predictions. They speak of a human warrior who would unite with the heir of Zorathia, bringing balance, strength, and new alliances. I do not fully understand it yet, but there are signs that you may be connected. Ethan blinked, processing her words. Me? A prophecy? I don't know what to say. I never imagined my life would take me here, let alone be part of something like that. Lyra's eyes softened. You need not understand everything now. But know this. Your actions, your courage, and your choices have already shaped events in ways you cannot see. I trust you, Ethan, and perhaps in time you will understand why you are here. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the city's sensors. A fleet of alien ships was approaching the outskirts of Zorathia, their intentions unclear. Lyra's council immediately convened, analyzing the threat. These ships are not friendly, one advisor said. They belong to the neighboring empire of Korith, known for their aggressive expansion. Lyra's mind raced. Prepare defenses, and gather Ethan. If he is truly part of what the prophecy speaks of, he must see this battle and act with me. Ethan joined her in the command chamber, surveying the holographic display of approaching enemy vessels. They're well armed, he said, frowning. But they don't know the terrain like we do. We can use that to our advantage, Lyra nodded. Exactly. And you will help me lead our forces. Together, we can protect the city. The battle began as the enemy fleet advanced, energy weapons lighting up the sky. Ethan and Lyra coordinated defenses, combining human tactical thinking with Zorathian technology. Ethan suggested using mobile energy barriers to funnel the attackers into choke points, a strategy that had worked in his previous missions. Lyra adapted it to the Zorathian fleet, and soon the enemy ships were caught in carefully planned traps. Despite the odds, the combined forces of Zorathia and Ethan's strategic insight held strong. The battle raged for hours, and Ethan found himself fighting alongside Lyra in both strategy and action. He piloted smaller craft to intercept attackers, using his agility and instincts to outmaneuver the enemy. Lyra led energy squads, her skill with energy blades unmatched, cutting through obstacles and inspiring her troops with courage and determination. As the battle reached its climax, Ethan noticed a larger enemy vessel breaking through the defensive perimeter. Without hesitation, he maneuvered a smaller ship to intercept it. His training, intuition, and human ingenuity allowed him to disable the ship's weapons without destroying the vessel, minimizing casualties and protecting the city. Lyra watched, impressed and proud. You've saved countless lives," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "Your bravery. It matches the legends I was told. Perhaps you truly are part of the prophecy." Ethan looked at her, breathing heavily from the exertion. "I'm just trying to do what's right," he said. "I never asked for a prophecy or destiny. I want to help." Lyra smiled faintly. "That is what makes you extraordinary. Courage without ego, intelligence without arrogance. These are qualities that define a true consort, whether prophecy or not." After the battle, the city celebrated the victory. Citizens cheered as their defenders returned, and Lyra made sure to recognize Ethan's contributions publicly. For the first time, many in the kingdom saw humans not as unpredictable outsiders but as brave allies capable of shaping the fate of Zorathia. That evening, Lyra and Ethan walked through the palace gardens, the stars above casting a soft glow. The twin moons reflected in the fountains, creating patterns of silver light on the crystal paths. "I still don't fully understand all of this," Ethan admitted, his voice quiet. "The prophecy, the pendant. It feels like I'm part of a story bigger than myself. I never asked for this, but I can't deny it. Something about it feels right." Lyra studied him carefully. "It does feel right, doesn't it? Even though it is unexpected, even though it is overwhelming, there is a connection, a bond that cannot be ignored. And it is not just the prophecy. It is you, Ethan, your courage, your integrity, your heart." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, a feeling he could not explain. He had traveled across the stars, faced countless dangers, and yet he had never encountered someone like Lyra. Her strength, wisdom, and trust in him stirred feelings he had not anticipated. Lyra continued, her voice softening. "There is more you must know. The prophecy is not merely about a bond between two individuals. It speaks of uniting worlds, of building trust where there was fear, and of creating a future stronger than the past. That future may rest in our hands." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then I will do my part. Not because of prophecy, not because of destiny, but because it is right. Because it is the only way to protect your people, and maybe because it feels like we are meant to face this together." Lyra reached out, lightly touching his arm. "Perhaps we are. Perhaps fate has brought us together not by chance but by choice. And together, we can face what comes next." The night deepened around them, the air filled with the quiet hum of the city and the gentle trickle of fountains. In that moment, both Lyra and Ethan felt the weight of their responsibilities, but also a growing sense of purpose. They were no longer merely a princess and a human warrior. They were partners bound by courage, trust, and the promise of what they could achieve together. Unknown to them, beyond the stars, forces were gathering. The neighboring empire would not forget its defeat, and other worlds were watching. But for now, Lyra and Ethan had discovered the first pieces of a destiny that would shape not only their lives, but the future of Zorathia itself. And in the quiet of the night, beneath the twin moons, a human and an alien princess began to understand that sometimes destiny is not just about prophecy. It is about the choices one makes, the courage one shows, and the bonds that grow in the face of uncertainty. Their story was only beginning, and the universe held countless challenges ahead, but together, they were stronger than either could be alone. And together, they would face whatever came next, with courage, wisdom, and a bond that neither time nor fate could break. The days following the battle against the Korith fleet were filled with preparation, planning, and reflection. The city of Zorathia slowly returned to its calm rhythm, but Princess Lyra knew that peace was fragile. The neighboring empire was still a threat, and the prophecy she had discovered about Ethan weighed heavily on her mind. She needed to see how he would respond to leadership, strategy, and the responsibilities that came with being more than just a warrior. Ethan awoke early, as he always did, in the chamber provided for him in the palace. The advanced Zorathian technology allowed him to rest more efficiently than he ever had on Earth, but he felt no true comfort without the presence of purpose guiding him. He dressed quickly and went to meet Lyra in the courtyard. She was already there, overseeing a group of elite soldiers practicing their drills. Good morning, Lyra said, her tone warm but commanding. I hope you slept well. Better than expected, Ethan replied, adjusting his uniform. Though I suppose I cannot really rest fully when there is so much to learn and prepare for. Lyra nodded. And there is much to do. The council has requested your presence. They wish to observe your input on city defenses and strategy. This is the first test of your leadership abilities. Ethan's brow furrowed slightly. He had been trained for battle, for survival, but diplomacy and leadership were different challenges entirely. Yet he knew that Lyra's trust in him was sincere, and that gave him confidence. Then I will do my best, he said. The council chamber was vast, with floating platforms and holographic displays depicting the city and its surrounding territories. Advisors and generals watched him with cautious curiosity, some skeptical of a human's ability to guide them, others intrigued by the bravery he had already shown. Lyra introduced Ethan formally. This is Captain Ethan Carter, a human warrior who has assisted in defending our city. He will now contribute his perspective to our strategic planning. Ethan stepped forward, scanning the holographic display. He studied the positions of the forces, the flow of resources, and the layout of the city defenses. He proposed adjustments to patrol schedules, energy shield placements, and emergency evacuation routes. His human perspective, combined with the information from Zorathian technology, offered insights that even seasoned advisors had not considered. Some council members murmured in surprise, impressed by his careful analysis and practical solutions. Others remained silent, skeptical of relying on an outsider. Lyra observed the room, her heart swelling with quiet pride. She had seen his courage in battle, but now she saw his wisdom, his ability to combine logic and instinct in a way that could truly benefit the kingdom. After hours of discussion, the council agreed to implement several of Ethan's suggestions. Though not all were adopted, the outcome was clear. The human warrior had earned respect, not just for his bravery, but for his leadership potential. Later, Lyra led Ethan to the palace gardens, away from the formalities of duty. You handled that well, she said, her voice softening. Many would have been intimidated, but you spoke with confidence and clarity. Ethan smiled faintly. I did not want to fail, especially not in front of you or your people. But I have to admit, it is different than anything I've faced before. Lyra's gaze softened. Different does not mean impossible. You have a gift, Ethan, not only in combat, but in understanding and decision-making. I believe you are meant for more than you realize. Their bond grew stronger over the following days. Ethan continued to train with the soldiers, now acting not only as a student but also as an advisor. His insights saved lives during mock drills, and his courage inspired both soldiers and citizens alike. Lyra watched him carefully, noting his ability to remain calm under pressure, to adapt quickly, and to see solutions that others could not. One afternoon, as they practiced tactical maneuvers on the open plains outside the city, a sudden alert came from the border sensors. A scout vessel from Korath had been detected, moving toward the city at high speed. Lyra and Ethan immediately prepared a response. Ethan suggested a plan, using decoy drones to mislead the scout vessel, while a rapid response team intercepted it. Lyra approved, trusting his judgment. The operation was a success. The scout was captured without harm to the city, and critical information about the enemy's plans was obtained. The council praised Ethan's quick thinking and creativity. This human strategies are remarkable, one general admitted. He combines human intuition with our technology in ways we could not have anticipated. Lyra felt a quiet satisfaction. She had always believed humans were capable of greatness, but Ethan's abilities exceeded even her expectations. There was a depth to him, a combination of courage, wisdom, and honor that was rare even among Zorathians. That evening, Lyra and Ethan walked through the palace corridors, their steps echoing softly. The city lights shimmered through the windows, reflecting on their faces. You are changing Zorathia, Lyra said quietly, not just with your strategies or your bravery, but with the example you set. People are beginning to see humans differently. Ethan looked at her, feeling a warmth in his chest. I never imagined I could make such a difference. I've always been a soldier, trained to fight and survive. But here, I feel like I'm part of something bigger, something meaningful. Lyra smiled. You are, Ethan. And that is why I trust you and why I believe the prophecy may be true. Not because it dictates your actions, but because your choices reflect the very qualities it speaks of. Over the next week, the city faced smaller skirmishes along its borders, testing both Ethan and the Zorathian defenses. Each time, Ethan's human ingenuity and adaptability turned potential disasters into victories. He devised new ways to use energy shields, coordinated evacuation protocols, and even found methods to disable enemy weapons without unnecessary destruction. Through it all, Lyra and Ethan continued to spend time together. Their conversations grew deeper, covering not just strategy but philosophy, morality, and the similarities and differences between their worlds. Ethan learned about Zorathian history, the values that shaped their society, and the traditions that guided the royal family. Lyra learned about Earth, its struggles, its triumphs, and the human spirit that had carried him across the stars. One night, as the twin moons reflected on the palace fountains, Lyra and Ethan sat quietly. "Do you ever wonder why we met?" Lyra asked, her voice almost a whisper. Ethan thought for a moment. "I used to think it was coincidence, but now, I think it might be more than that. Something brought us together. Maybe not just fate, but the choices we make, the actions we take. They define why we are here." Lyra nodded, feeling a deep resonance in his words. "Yes, and I feel connected to you in ways I cannot fully explain. It is as if I have known you longer than the days we've spent together. Perhaps that is why the prophecy resonates so strongly. Not just because it foretells a human warrior, but because that warrior is you." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. "Lyra, I don't know what the future holds, but I know I will stand by your side. Not because of prophecy, not because it is expected, but because it is the right thing to do. Because I care about you, and about this world." Lyra's eyes shimmered with emotion. "And I care for you, Ethan. Perhaps destiny has many paths, but I am certain of one thing. We are stronger together." As the night deepened, a quiet sense of peace settled over them. For now the city was safe, and they had proven that humans and Zorathians could work together in harmony. But the universe was vast and threats were never far away. They knew that more challenges awaited, more battles to fight, and more decisions that would shape the fate of both their worlds. In the coming days, Ethan would continue to learn, to grow, and to lead alongside Lyra. And Lyra would continue to watch him, learning not just about his skills and bravery, but about the strength of character, integrity, and heart that defined him. Together they were more than a princess and a human warrior. They were partners, allies, and a living testament to the power of courage and trust. The bond between them deepened, not only through shared victories and challenges, but through understanding and mutual respect. Each day they discovered more about each other, uncovering strengths, fears, and hopes that had remained hidden. And with each discovery, their connection grew stronger, preparing them for the trials yet to come. Far above the city, the stars continued to shimmer, distant and silent witnesses to the unfolding story. Somewhere in the vast reaches of space, enemies watched, preparing, waiting. But for now, Zorathia had found a champion in a human warrior, and a princess who believed in him. And together, they would face whatever the universe had in store, not as separate beings, but as a united force, ready to protect, to inspire, and to build a future stronger than the past. Thus, the story continued, a tale of courage, leadership, and an unbreakable bond between two beings from different worlds, brought together by fate, choice, and the undeniable power of trust. Their journey was far from over, but each step forward reinforced the knowledge that together they could face anything. The city of Zorathia shone under the light of the twin suns, the crystal towers sparkling as if celebrating the arrival of a new day. Princess Lyra walked along the balcony of the palace, her thoughts occupied by the events of the past weeks. The human warrior Ethan had proven himself repeatedly, not only in combat but in leadership, strategy, and wisdom. The prophecy that had once seemed distant and abstract now felt tangible, a living truth reflected in the courage and integrity of the human standing beside her. Ethan joined her, his footsteps quiet against the polished floor. He looked out over the city with a mix of awe and determination. "It's beautiful," he said softly, his eyes scanning the streets below. "And it feels like home in a way I never expected." Lyra turned to him, a soft smile on her face. "You have earned your place here, Ethan. Not by blood, not by birthright, but by your actions, your courage, and your choices. You have become a part of Zorathia in ways that no prophecy alone could guarantee. Ethan met her gaze, feeling the weight and warmth of her words. I never imagined I could belong somewhere like this, but I know now. I want to protect this world, not because it is required, but because it is right. Because you and your people deserve it. Lyra nodded, her heart swelling. And you shall. But there is more to come, Ethan. The Korath Empire has not forgotten their defeat, and other worlds watch with interest. The challenges ahead will test us, and the choices we make now will shape the future of Zorathia, and perhaps more than that. The council had convened earlier that day to review intelligence from the borders. Reports indicated that the Korath Empire had regrouped, assembling a much larger fleet than before. Their intent was clear: conquest. The council turned to Lyra and Ethan for guidance, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and expectation. Lyra spoke first, her voice steady and confident. We will defend our city, but this is not only about strength. It is about unity. We must show our people and our enemies that courage, wisdom, and cooperation are greater than brute force. Ethan stepped forward. We can prepare the city defenses, yes, but we must also use strategy, misdirection, and intelligence to anticipate their moves. I've studied the Korath tactics, and I believe we can use their aggression against them, turning their strengths into weaknesses. The council listened intently, impressed by Ethan's insight. Several members who had previously doubted him now nodded in agreement, recognizing the value of his human perspective. With Lyra and Ethan guiding the city's defense, the preparations began in earnest. For days, Ethan and Lyra coordinated drills, planned strategies, and worked closely with the soldiers. Ethan's human ingenuity combined with Zorathian technology to create new defensive measures. Energy shields that could shift dynamically, decoy drones to confuse enemy sensors, and rapid response teams ready to intercept any breach. During one strategy session, Lyra watched Ethan explain a complex maneuver to the generals. His voice was calm, confident, and precise, his mind calculating multiple outcomes simultaneously. She felt a deep admiration for him, not just as a warrior but as a partner, a thinker, and a human capable of inspiring others to rise beyond their limits. That evening, they walked through the palace gardens, the twin moons casting a serene glow over the fountains and crystalline pathways. Ethan, Lyra said softly, you have done more than I could have imagined. Your courage, your wisdom, it has united this city and shown them that humans can be more than outsiders. They see you as a leader, a protector, and perhaps a part of our future. Ethan looked at her, his expression thoughtful. I never wanted fame or recognition. I just wanted to do what was right. But if my actions have helped your people, then that is enough. Lyra reached out, taking his hand gently. It is more than enough. It is extraordinary, and I realize now that my place is not just beside a protector, but beside someone who shares my values, my vision, and my heart. Ethan felt a warmth he had never known before, a sense of belonging and purpose that went beyond duty. Lyra, I care for you, not because of prophecy, not because of expectation, but because of who you are, and because together we can face whatever comes next. Lyra's eyes shimmered with emotion. And I care for you, Ethan. Perhaps destiny has brought us together, but it is our choices that define our bond. And I choose you. The next day, the Korath fleet approached, larger and more menacing than ever. The city's defenses were ready, with energy barriers, decoy systems, and tactical squads in place. Citizens watched from safe zones, their trust in Lyra and Ethan evident in their expressions. As the battle began, Ethan and Lyra coordinated from the command center. Ethan analyzed the enemy movements, anticipating their strategies and suggesting countermeasures. Lyra directed energy squads, leading charges and inspiring her soldiers to act with courage and precision. The Korath forces were strong, but the unity of Zorathia and Ethan's ingenuity turned the tide. Enemy ships were diverted into traps, their weapons disabled, and their formations disrupted. Citizens and soldiers alike watched as the human warrior and the alien princess moved as one. A seamless team combining strategy, skill, and courage. At a critical moment, Ethan identified the flagship of the enemy fleet. It was heavily armed and shielded, and a direct assault would be disastrous. Instead, he proposed a daring plan, using decoy vessels and synchronized energy pulses to disable the flagship without unnecessary destruction. Lyra approved, trusting his judgment completely. The plan worked flawlessly. The flagship was neutralized, its weapons offline, and the remaining Korath forces retreated, recognizing the futility of continued attack. Zarathia had won not through sheer force but through intelligence, unity, and courage. The city erupted in celebration. Citizens cheered and soldiers returned victorious. Lyra and Ethan stood on the palace balcony watching the joy below. "We did it," Ethan said, a rare smile on his face. Lyra turned to him, her eyes filled with pride and something deeper. "Yes, and you have proven yourself in ways that even prophecy could not have predicted. You are more than a warrior, Ethan. You are a leader, a partner, and the one I will stand beside for the rest of my life." Ethan felt a profound sense of fulfillment. "Lyra, I am honored, and I promise to stand by you, not just as your warrior, but as your companion, your ally, and your equal." The Royal Council formally recognized Ethan's contributions, declaring him a hero of Zarathia. The citizens embraced him not as an outsider, but as a protector and symbol of unity between worlds. And finally, in a private ceremony in the palace, Lyra presented the ancient pendant to Ethan, a symbol not only of prophecy but of trust, respect, and love. As the twin moons rose high in the sky, Ethan and Lyra stood together hand in hand. The city of Zarathia sparkled below, a testament to courage, wisdom, and unity. They had faced challenges that would have broken lesser individuals, yet together, they had not only survived, they had thrived. "Ethan," Lyra said softly, "our journey is only beginning. There will be more challenges, more worlds to meet, and more trials to face. But together I know we can overcome anything." Ethan looked at her, his heart steady and full. "I am ready, Lyra. Whatever comes next, we will face it together." In that moment, the prophecy was fulfilled. Not simply because a human had met a princess, but because their courage, wisdom, and choices had shaped a future brighter than anyone could have imagined. Zarathia was safe, its people inspired, and two beings from different worlds had found a bond that transcended prophecy, fate, and expectation. And as the night sky stretched endlessly above them, Ethan and Lyra knew that their story was far from over. Together they would continue to explore new horizons, defend the innocent, and build a legacy of courage, honor, and unity. The human warrior and the alien princess, once strangers from different worlds, now stood as partners, allies, and symbols of what could be achieved when courage meets wisdom. And when hearts act with trust and integrity, their journey had begun with destiny, but it was sustained by choice, and it would continue through every challenge the universe could bring. And so, with hands clasped, hearts united, and eyes set on the future, Ethan and Lyra faced the stars, ready to embrace all that was to come, together.